Hi, I'm Grace Pedota from the CSC, and welcome to the #Finance podcast. We're broadcasting from the first Canadian placed, and I am so pleased to have Shira Adler as my first Skype guest. Hi, Shira, how are you?
Hi, Grace. Good morning. You look gorgeous. This is great. Thanks for having me on.
So do you. I love the curly hair. So Shira is a CBD expert and media wellness host, advocate, educator, entrepreneur. Welcome, Shira. Where are you located right now?
So I am at the other end of this computer based in Westchester County, New York, which is the suburb, meaning that it's a really large county, about 35 miles north of New York City.
Wow. And so how different is it from New York City? What's the difference there?
Westchester County could practically be another country, comparatively speaking, to New York City, depending on the attitude. For being a now activist and advocate and entrepreneur in the cannabis and hemp industries, sometimes I'm met with a lot of raised eyebrows from the PTO types, the parent-teacher organizations. So it's interesting because even though we are still a tri-state metro New York City area in a very liberal state, not necessarily liberal attitudes when it comes to what I do for a living.
Yeah, definitely. And so just on that topic of you being more liberal, I see that you were a Bravo reality TV star. Could you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Oh, it's such a dubious honor and a title, and it's going to haunt me till the rest of my life. I'm just kidding. It's actually been one of the biggest catalysts for my growth, for becoming who I am as a media wellness personality and a healer, and why I'm in this industry. So basically, a long time ago, several years now, actually almost 5 years to date, that show aired, which is crazy because I still have people that come up to me on the street, just random strangers, who said, "Oh, you're that spiritual soccer mom, or you're that mom with that aromatherapy, or you're that weird," like, yes to all. I am sort of a combination of Chelsea Handler meets Mother Earth. I don't know. But basically, I was on a show on Bravo as the debut mom, and I did all the media around the show to look at integrative and alternative and holistic practices for raising my then younger kids, who were 10 and 12 at the time when we taped the show. And I'm still that mom. I play myself on TV and in real life, and through my company and through my book and through my speaking. It's all the same family. We've just grown up, and we've stepped more into our passion and our purpose regarding holistic care.
Great. And can you talk to us a little bit more about holistic care?
Sure. Well, my company is all about modern alchemy, and I should say the company name is Synergy by Shira Adler, and I love to create synergy and relationship between ourselves, our bodies, our children, our communities, and our planet. And to do that, we have to look at an alternative or integrative way of being these physical bodies, trying to have a more vibrant wellness approach to life on a mind, body, and spirit level. So my products are about modern alchemy between ancient wisdom and modern science, cannabinoids and terpenes and essential oils and aromatherapy, and all of that's one bucket. And also just how we show up in our lives and how we communicate and how we affect change on behalf of ourselves, those we love, and our communities and our planet. So to me, it's all one big umbrella. That's what being holistic is to me. It's looking at the entire picture from a wholly different attitude.
I saw on your blog that you wrote a book called The ABCs of CBD. Could you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I wrote that book for one main reason: to save my throat chakra from overuse. And if you don't know what a throat chakra is, well, we can explain that in another kind of podcast. But the basic gist is that this is my life. Being into alternative or integrative plant medicine and the applications of it is my everything. And it's really the modality that I use to help my own children. That's where I started this journey from. And I wrote that book, The ABCs of CBD. The new subtitle is shortened to just The Essential Guide. It used to be called The Essential Guide for Parents, Friends, and Regular Folks too. But that's just too much to say, and everybody loves this book, and I'm I'm glad that that's the case. But I wrote that book when my second child, was in residential treatment for smoking too much, because I was that single mom raising 2 kids who had some challenges and struggled, and like most today in this society and in this world. And it just became necessary. When you have certain information, when you've lived something and it's become such an important part of your life, you have no choice but to share that information. And because I kept saying the same things over and over in live wellness events and in my writing, it just came out as a book. And now that book is sold internationally, which is amazing. We're looking at doing now translations into Japanese and Spanish. And it's just mind-blowing. But I think it speaks to what people understand intrinsically. When you have something powerful that has shaped and affected your life, and you know that it can help someone else, you have no choice but to share that information. And when we share our stories, we support each other on the most fundamental of human levels. That's really what the book's about.
And when were you first introduced to CBD?
I was first introduced a long time ago, like many years ago. I'm older than I look, and I readily admit that. But what really happened is I started my company. Actually, I've been in CBD and essential oils, terpenes, plant medicine. I incorporated my company back in 2011, which is a long time considering how new this industry is, right? It's still kind of in its nascent forms. But I really focused on merging my then holistic company, which was at the time I launched it, aromatherapy blends. And I looked for a way of taking those already very powerful sprays and boosting the efficacy, because the need state rose. My kids' need states, everybody's stress levels, the PTSD I was seeing in society. It was almost as if society was reflecting to me what I like to call humanity's pain points were accelerating. And I said, what can I do to take an already beautiful concept and product and make it stronger and easier and more available for people? And that's when I started looking into and researching and giving to my own children the cannabinoids to add as part of our holistic wellness regimen. That's where the company was created from, and that was a long time ago. By 2016, I was at the Cannabis World Congress at the Javits Center in New York City, which is that really big center, and I launched the aromatherapy with CBD. So I'm like the OG of CBD. My kids call me Metaphysical AF Mama. And I was voted one of the best in show by the products by HuffPost.
Wow. That's awesome. And so just going through, because you spoke briefly about how your son kind of had an issue with, cannabis. And then there was, I saw on your blog that you were reported to Child Protective Services. Could you talk more a little bit about that?
Yeah. I love speaking to people, especially women, encouraging them to enter this industry. I think that percentage-wise, women have a very powerful and strong voice. That in terms of when you look at C-suite positions, there are a lot of female founders and CEOs. We are about 20 to 25% of C-suite positions, and that's extraordinary. As a mother who has had children who have struggled, I find it even more important that women tell our stories and come to this industry because of our personal experiences. So I will readily admit that when I start a program, my first thing I say is that I am a recovering, formerly anti-pot parent. And that's important because I think I represent what it is to make a conscious decision to change an attitude and to break free from the stigma that even I was held back by, because it's how I was raised. A lot of us were raised by parents and grandparents who were not cool with the concept of cannabis or marijuana. And what I say simply is you don't know what you don't know. And so as a younger mother, I was really, really anti. I even divorced one of my ex-husbands because he was a total pothead. It's true. And don't ask me how many husbands, because that's coming out in a different book. But the short version is that I realized how completely incorrect, not only incorrect I was, but the greatest thing a parent or a person can do is admit that they don't know everything and readily admit when they're wrong about something. And then I went one more step and I said, what is the best opportunity that I, as a human, can affect change in my children's physiology, biochemistry, emotional state? And actually, it's the same plant species. And that's kind of shocking. In other words, I'm telling parents, if you want your kid to stop overusing THC, then give them more of the same species, but in a different balance and form or delivery method. And that's kind of putting myself out there in terms of, wait, what is she advocating for minors smoking? No, I'm not. And I want there to be a really clear distinction. Minors should not ever use adult use or recreational use products. That would be irresponsible and inappropriate. But if we regulate this industry, if we create standards, if we do this right, then we actually offer the very best hope and care for the same people who have the, quote, addictions or addictive personalities. Because really, it's just a way of, well, for kids who are smoking too much, they're self-medicating because people do that when they're under stress. Adults do that. Everybody does that. And it can look like shopping addiction or oversleeping or whatever it is. We all have our own ways of self-soothing, but some of them are maladaptive, right? They're not for highest and best good. If you use the same plant species properly and the medicine as medicine and respect nature for how these plants were designed, then guess what? You can actually get your kid to stop using the THC by switching the ratio, delivery method, and type of product.
Hold that thought. I want to hear more, but we'll be right back after this commercial break.
We're social here at the CSE. Each and every day we'll keep you up to date on trending topics that investors are talking about, such as cannabis, blockchain, and esports. Follow daily CSE news and events on your favorite social media platform: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You'll find exclusive interviews with leading entrepreneurs from a variety of industries, thought-provoking stories from across the world of finance, and updates from CSE events taking place worldwide. Join the conversation and connect with us today.
And we're back with Shira Adler. Shira, thank you once again for joining me today on this podcast episode. I just want to know, so that was a very, very riveting story. That's hard to deal with, especially with, a child going through an addiction, but also classifying it as something that is, you're going through stress. So you look through other pathways to kind of help and make yourself feel better. And so what gives you the courage to kind of talk about these things and educate other moms and people who are experiencing these kinds of things?
I'm very honored and grateful that the ABCs of CBD has reached the critical success that it has so far. It's so meaningful because I may have written it from the perspective of my own stories, but I share other people's stories and other people's healing journeys because really each of us is on our own heroic healing quest. It's just a matter of understanding that we have more that connects us than that which divides us, right? So when you come into conscious contact with another human, you have a choice. You can sit in your own, as my late mother used to say, your own belly button, or you can understand that when we seek to say something honestly and personally, you're going to reach more people and you're going to open doorways. And that's really my philosophy in life, no matter what the subject. It has been sometimes very difficult, sometimes very painful to be this, quote, brave. I don't think there's an alternative for me personally, but I do understand that entering this industry and doing what I do is not for the faint of heart. Being reported to Child Protective Services is never comfortable, but ironically, I'm really good at taking the dark stuff and then finding a way to transmute it to light. So even in those experiences with organizations, institutions, doctors' offices, parents who are fear-based, whatever it is who's reported me in the past, it comes out of a place of fear. It comes out of a place of stigma. I don't take it personally, and I understand that I can transmute that energy into something powerful and positive that can help someone else in a similar situation. So when I've been reported, I interviewed the people who came to interview me. I end up becoming friends with everybody, educating them legitimately. They actually become my fans and followers and customers, which is totally crazy. And I interviewed them for the statistics that went into that book. And that's how you transmute a negative experience. Instead of saying, I'm a victim, because I don't believe in that, something doesn't happen to you, because that means victim, it happens for you. And that's how I take every experience and turn it into something good. Or at least I hope so. And I have my bad days, but that's why we have Raisinets and Haagen-Dazs. I mean...
Well, that is an actual interesting concept, and it is good to always think positively, even in the most negative situations, because if you get bogged down, it just makes things worse. And I'm a true believer in that, for sure. And then also, just if you can just kind of talk about, you travel a lot for your job. You have a lot of speaking positions at conferences all over the world. If you could kind of just talk to us a little bit more about what you've kind of seen and heard, and yeah.
You know, what's so funny is that only now I'm really kicking into the traveling, because my kids weren't old enough for me to do this. And I really am grateful to them. They're now 16 and 18. You know, I have a daughter with her own monetized YouTube channel at 18. Like, what? That's crazy. It's great. She's hysterical. She's like Ashley Graham, you know, that cute curvy model, meets Amy Schumer. And I'm plugging her channel is AMI, and then you put her name, Emma Adler, in parentheses. Just watch her stuff. She's so funny. I think she's going to end up on SNL. But anyway, until my kids were old enough for me and willing enough for me to leave them and to share their stories, right? We're a whole family. We do this together. My daughter and I have spoken at press conferences to support bills. We are an advocate, activist family, and that's really important to me. But I couldn't do what I do if it weren't for having been through what I've been through. And now I love it. You know, when people say, oh, you work all the time, you know, it depends on how you define that word work, because we're always talking about the work-life balance, life-work balance, you know, which word comes first and what is it. My entire concept is all about bringing balance back through my products, through my speaking, through the book, through whatever. But it's the journey itself that helps you to bring it back, right? I don't know if we ever bring it back totally and fully. And it's not work for me. It's a joy. It's my passion. It's my purpose. It's why I'm here. And honestly, it's the only time I get away. It's going on conferences. So yeah, that's really extraordinary. And I'm so honored I'll be speaking at the Malta Medical Biz World Summit. I'll be speaking at the Emerald Cup. I'm a moderator for a panel there. It's really a joy. I love people. I love gathering stories, and it's how I research my other books, by listening, by paying attention, by learning, by absorbing the energy of all of these people and where we are as the industry.
Yeah, and you know what? I never even asked you. What's your sign? What's your horoscope sign?
I'm an Aries. I'm a strong Aries. Can you tell with a Leo rising? Oh yes, I'm like fire creator. It's so hard to imagine, right? I'm so shy and retiring. And yeah, and I'm actually working on my second book already. So in my spare time, I just got my first offer letter from my first VC. I've been bootstrapped since 2011. And I'm really proud of that. But yeah, it's time. It is time. It's outgrown what I can do, and I birthed it, and now I'm looking for all of these new team members to come in and to grow this company together. So that's exciting on a business side. And the book, it's hard to find time, but that's what, again, I use conferences to interview people. The second book is called Pink Moccasins and Other Footwear-Inspired Tales of Empowerment. And the tagline is, you can't walk in another woman's shoes, but you sure as hell can admire them.
Oh, I love that.
Each chapter is a story about a woman in the cannabis and hemp industry and how we stand in our power and how we walk in our journeys and how we connect to each other by admiring our shoes, because that's true too.
That's great. Well, you seem very busy, lots of projects on the go. And so I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today, because I know that you are definitely a very busy woman.
I love it. This is my favorite part. I love being on podcasts, and I love speaking to people and learning more about the Canadian Securities Exchange. And I know I'm going to see some of your folks out in Malta. So this is how we build this industry and how we build bridges to remind people that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, right? We're actually spiritual beings trying to elevate our human experience.
Great. Thank you so much again, Shira. Hi, it's Grace from the CSC reminding you to make sure to follow us on social media for the latest updates on our listed companies as well as new listing alerts. For more in-depth content, be sure to pick up our free quarterly magazine, Public Entrepreneur, available online at thecsc.com.